Welcome back again to today's session. Today we just basically will conclude our conversation around the Git, repository. We've seen, how to add to the repository, how to commit, and how to push to the remote origin, and we've also seen how to set up our SSH key, copy from your local machine and then put that on your GitHub repo. We've seen all of that. Now, today we just want to look at, Git restore, Git revert. Okay, we want to see how, if you have committed a change already, how can you restore that? How can you revert that, right? So what are the different strategy, all right, to, reverting your changes, restoring your changes? Maybe you deleted something and you want to restore it back. How do you go, all right, about that? Now, when it comes to Git, usually in your day-to-day activity, all right, there are three commands that you're going to be using, very often, right? And those three commands are actually git add, okay, git add, git commit, all right, and then you have a git push. Now, these three commands are more like what you're going to be using almost every time, right? But of course, there are some situation that happens that will warrant that, you try to, find a resolution around, certain things, okay? So that is where the git restore, git revert, and git reset, all right, that is where, those command, that is where they come in, actually. So we're going to be looking at all of that, all right, today. So let's start by making a directory. Okay, so mkdir. But let me see if I can expand my view here so that we can see clearly what we're doing. All right. Okay, so good. All right. Okay, I think we're good now. Okay, so mkdir. So let's just call this git, practice or something. Okay, and then I will cd into that. All right, so cd git, all right, prac. Now I'm in. Now I'm going to do my git init because this is not a git repository just yet. Okay, so I will do that git init, and then here I'm going to clear my screen, right? So now, because I'm using git bash on my Windows machine, you can see that it is showing me the default branch that I'm on presently. Okay, so which means I don't have to say git branch, all right, and all of that to see that, right? Also with the git bash, I can see clearly, all right, the branch that I'm on at the moment. Now, if I do git status, of course, I don't have anything here yet. So we can just say echo, all right? We can just say line 1, all right, added to file1.txt, all right? And then we can output that into file1.txt, okay? And then you would enter. Oops, look at that. I didn't close, all right, my echo. So it's giving me that error. So let's try that again. Okay, so you close that, put this here, and then you press enter. All right. So now if I do ls, I can find my file 1 right in that place. So let's put a couple of more stuff here. So I'm going to basically double this because I want to append, I'm not trying to overwrite. Okay, so I have to make it all right, the 2 greater than sign, because if you don't do this, then you're overwriting the file. So, but I'm not overwriting, so I just basically want to append a few lines. So I'm going to say line 2, and then I'm going to do that maybe like 2 or more, or 2 times or more. All right, I'm going to say line, so it's still file 1. So I'm going to say line 3, all right, and then let's do that one more time, and then I'm going to say basically line 4. Okay, so now I have my file. So if I say cat file1.txt, right, I can see that I have my line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and all of that. Okay, so now we have this file, okay, inside of this folder. Now, if I do git status, of course, I've not handed it over yet to Git, right? So I'm going to come here and I'm going to say git add, all right? We've been working with this, so git commit, all right? And then I'll say, initial commit, okay? Now we've committed, right? So now if I come here and I say git, git log, for example, all right, I can see the initial commit, I can see the author, I can see the end, and I can see, all the other information, and I can see the commit statement right here. Okay, so let's clear the screen. Now here, if I come here again and I can say, let's try the echo again one more time to create, all right, another file. So let's say file 2. All right, so I can say file line 1 added. All right, so I can come here and say, oh, sorry, we need to do that again. So I'm going to say line 2, file 2. I'm going to remove this basically to just overwrite that. Okay, and then we'll try that again. So now this is file 2, and that will be line 2. All right, so we can do that again, line 3. All right, we can do that again for line 4. Okay, we're just trying to add some files, okay, just to practice and see what can be done. Okay, so now if I do git status, now I can see here that I have my file 2, all right, that is, that is yet, to be tracked. Okay, now if I do git add, all right, and then I do git status again, all right, now I can see here that I can actually use the git restore to restore my file. But I can also use the git, reset, all right, or I can use the git revert. Okay, these are commands that can be used, all right? So you can use the git reset, you can use the git restore, you can use any of these, all right, commands actually. So, but the git restore will basically change that back to the untracked state. I think we saw that in one of the videos, all right? So let's try to see what command we can actually use here. And let's say git reset. All right, so let's say git reset, and then the file is file 2, all right, .txt, right? Let's press enter. Now, if I do ls, now my file 2 is still here, it's still in my working directory. Now, if I do git status, let's see what we have. So git status has actually reverted that file back to what? To the working area. So there's git restore, there's also git reset. Okay, so but then if I do cat, so let's see if that has not affected our file in any way. All right, so I can see that the content of my file is still there. Okay, so the file was not affected. It only just basically, restore that file back to the working area, right? It is not tracked again. So which means basically you can use git, all right, restore hyphen staged, and then git reset the file will also do pretty much, all right, the same thing that we want to do. Okay, so here I'm going to say git add again, all right, and then say git, all right, commit. Now, once you commit your change, you may not be able to, all right, revert back, but there's a way to actually go about that, all right, using your add, command. Okay, so here now, let's do git status one more time. Okay, so I have my new file. Okay, it's been added. I can restore, all right, and I can do something. So here, I'm going to come here again. I'm going to say, echo, all right. So I'm going to say line 5 added to file 2.txt. And of course, we're going to echo that to, all right, now we've forgotten our, all right, closing thing again. So I'm going to say redirect that to file 2.txt, right? So now if I do git status, now I can see that there's a new file, all right, in file 2, and then file 2 also has been modified. So the modification has not been saved. And now I have a new file, all right, that I have added. Okay, so now let's try this command called git restore. So if I say git restore, let's see what will happen. Okay, so git restore file 2.txt, and then I press enter. All right, so let's look at git status and let's see what happened. Now look at what happened. My new file, all right, is still here. Now the one that was modified here is basically gone. Okay, it's gone, right? Because I mean, change is not staged for commit, but this is a change that was staged to be committed already. Okay, so which means for this one, you've probably done your git add, and for this one, you've not done the git add already. Okay, so now we've done git restore. Now, if I do ls, my file is still there. So let's cat and let's say cat file2.txt. All right. So now we actually added something. We said echo line 5. We appended that, right? But if I look at what I have here, that line has actually gone. I hope that is making sense because we restored, all right? So that line has actually what? Has actually gone. because I mean, that is what git restore does. So it will restore it back to the previous known state. Okay, so that is git restore. So we've seen git restore hyphen staged. Okay, basically moving our files from the tracked state back to the untracked state. We have also seen git reset do the same thing. Okay, so git restore now is basically all right doing something else. Okay, so the file that we added, we're not seeing it here again, right? So now, if I do git status, okay, there's nothing to basically, all right, so what I need to do now is to commit the change, right? So let's say git commit, all right, hyphen m. So I'm going to say commit, all right, a or something, okay? Now, if I do git log, right? So I can see the new commit here. I can see the initial commit. Okay. Now let's add a few other things. All right. Let's add a few other things before we can see, maybe some changes and some other things like that. Okay. So now again, let's create a new file. So this time around, I'm just going to do nano file3.txt. Okay. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to say, now you're wondering I'm using Nano on my Windows, right? Because I mean, I'm using Git Bash. So with Git Bash, it allows you to run some Linux, commands, okay? So with your Git Bash, you can run, some Linux commands will still work. It won't give you any issue. But of course, if you're using PowerShell, you may not be able to do this, okay? And that's the purpose of using the Git Bash. All right, so let's go on. So here, I'm going to say line 1 added to file3.txt, and then line 2, right, added to file3.txt, line 3 added to file3.txt, line 4 added to file4.txt. All right, so let's save that and let's exit out. Okay, so now if I git status, I have a file to add. Okay, so if I do git add, all right, and I do git commit, all right, hyphen m, and then I can call these, all right, commit b, and then I can save that, right? So if I do git status now, I don't have anything, all right, to add. I don't have anything to commit. Now, if you come here and you do your git log, all right, so you have 3 commits, right? So the latest commit is at this point. Is that okay? And you have already also, so you have the commit B, you have the commit A, all right, and then you have the initial commit. Now, in Git, this commit here is regarded as the latest commit. Okay, now in programming, right, when you are trying to list something, okay, maybe you're trying to create a list of items, for example. Now, in programming, the first item in that list will usually start from 0. Okay, so you have something like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, up to 9. Okay, so what that means is that this is probably regarded as what? As, all right, commit 0. Because I mean, this is the latest commit. So this is more like your commit 0, this is commit 1, commit 2. All right, just to put it like that. Is that okay? Now let's clear the screen and then let's do our git log once again. Okay, now let's try to do something, all right, and see how we can actually revert, back, some changes. Now here you can also do some git restore, right? You can say git restore like this, all right? Git restore dot, basically to just restore everything. So if I run this, I don't think it's going to have any effect, right? So if I do git status, let's see what that does, right? I don't see any effect here, right? Because I mean, we don't have anything that we are trying to restore, okay? But of course, if you try to modify anything, for example, if you do, let's say you do vi file, or let's just use nano. So nano file1.txt. So if you come here and you say line 5, all right, added to file1.txt, and then you save that, all right. Oops. Okay, so let's see. Was that done? Okay, it was added. So now, if I do git status, all right, the file has been modified. So if I do git add, okay, to bring it to the staging area, all right, and then git like this. So now if I say git restore dot, and then I press enter, so let's see git status again. Now it is still showing what? Modified. So the git restore at this point is not going to work. All right, because I mean, the git restore is supposed to restore whatever it is that you have, all right, that you've not committed already. Okay, so of course we've done a modification here. All right, so we've added this to the staging area. So if I say git restore, this is not going to actually, it's not going to give us what we expect. Okay, so it's not going to give us what we expect, but of course you can also do your git revert, okay, and then say file1.txt. Let's see what that would do. All right, so bad revision. Okay, so that's not going to work also. So what can you do? You can actually do a reset. Okay, so let's see if that reset will work. So now I'm just doing all of these so that I can see when to use what, all right, and all of that. So let's see that. Now look at it. Git reset file one says on state changes after reset, all right, modify file one. So let's see git status. Okay, so now it is back to, all right, this point. So, but let's do cat, all right, file1.txt. Now you can see that the file is still there. The file was not affected in any way. All right, basically what happened was just that he removed it, okay, from the staging area back to, all right, the working directory. So you can see how to use all of these things. So now let's try the git restore dot and let's see what happens now. So if I do git restore dot and I do git status, all right, now look at that. So the git restore dot worked now. And it says, I mean, there's nothing to commit, right? So now if I say cat file1.txt, now the fact that I added is what is gone. So that is to tell you that there are commands that should come before the order. Okay, so initially we did what? We did git reset. All right, so basically reset moved it from the staging area back to the working directory. And now when we did git restore dot, it basically just, deleted everything in, all right, that we are preparing for staging. Right, so basically you just say, well, just restore everything back to the way it was. So now if you look at it here, the file that we added to this file was deleted. Okay, so that is basically what I wanted to show, all right, us here. Okay, so again, let's just do a little modification and then let's see how, once you've committed something, how can you revert back and all of that, right? What we're doing now is basically we're still working, within the staging area and, all right, and the working directory. So, but of course, sometimes you've committed a change and you want to revert back to a previous commit ID, right? So how do you do that? Okay, so that's what I want us to see, all right, next. Okay, so let's take a look at that. So here I'm going to add this line, all right, just add another line. Just add another line here. So line 5 added to file1.txt. So I'm going to save that and then I'm going to leave. So let's just say git add. All right. Now, another thing that you can also do is this. So if I say git status, now I can see that it's been modified. Okay, now it's not a new file. It's a file that have been added already, but now we've modified it. Now, instead of doing git add, all right, dot, and then doing git commit later on, I can actually combine that, everything into just a single command, right? So I can say git commit -am, or for some people, you can say -a-m. It's still the same thing, right? But you can concatenate these options together, all right? So I'm going to come here and say -am. So basically, I'm adding and I'm also passing a message at the same time. So instead of doing git commit all right, git add first and then do git commit -m later, I'm basically just putting everything together in one command, okay? So, and then here, I pass in my message and I'll say, all right, file1.txt modified, okay? And then my commit has been done. So now if I do git commit, all right, so if I do git commit git log rather, git log, right? I can see my new changes right here. So this is the point that we are at this time. All right, so now let's take a look at, something. Now, another thing you can do is you can say git log one line, all right, and then you can use -n to basically filter, all right, the number of lines you want to see in the log. So I can say, I want to see the last 3 commits. So this will give me more like a summary of the log. So instead of showing me all of the details like the user, the author, the email, all of that, it's just going to show me the short form of the commit ID, all right, the head, the master, and then the comments, all right, that was passed for each of the commits. Okay. So now you can see that the initial commit is not showing up here. Now, let's say we want to revert back, all right, let's say we want to go back to commit B, for example. All right, so how can we actually do that, right? We want to go back to commit B. Now, one of the things you can do is you can say git revert, all right, and then you can say add. Okay, so git revert, you can say add, all right? So now what this will do is, let's press enter, and let's see what that will do. Now look at it here. He opened up a message for me and it says this revert commits, all right, this particular, all right, ID. Okay, so now if I'm okay with this text, because I mean this is going to create a new commit ID, but of course what I'm doing is I'm reverting back, all right, to a particular known state. Okay, now let's do this. Let's quit, all right, without saving. All right, okay. Did anything happen there? Okay, so let's do git one line again. Let's see. Okay, it even accepted it, right? Now look at what happened. Okay, so even though I quitted the text editor, it still went ahead to save. Okay, but let's look at what we have here. So at this point, this is the commit ID that we had, right, at this level. Okay, so now we have, so after the git revert add, what do we have? So we have a new commit ID, all right, and we still have, okay, this one, all right, and we still have this particular one here, file text modified. We have commit B, which is still here. But of course, let's take a look at it. So I think this thing did not, oh, all right. So our files are still there actually. So which means the quit that I put in there actually worked. So it actually quitted, it didn't revert anything, okay? So here I still have my commit A right here, okay? So let's assume that, maybe what we did was actually a mistake. Now, what I want to look at is this. This is this commit C619 whatever, B5 whatever, all right? So let's say, for example, you want to revert back, all right, to, let's say, basically the goal is to move from this point to maybe this point, all right? That's the goal. Because I mean, if I do ls, my files are still here, right? If I do my cat file1.txt, all right, so cat file1, all right, my files are still there. So if I do cat file2, it's still there. If I do cat file3, it's still there as well. Okay, so now the goal here is to, so let's do git log, all right, -1 line, all right, and just put it there. So the goal here is that we want to move from this point to, let's say, we want to move back here. So, all right, we want our head, this head here, to be right here. So basically, all of these things that we did from here up, let's say it's a mistake, okay? So we're trying to revert back to this point. So what do we do? So here we can say git reset, okay? Git reset hyphen add. So you want to do some add reset, okay? And then here you can actually copy this ID, all right? So let's copy that and let's put that here. And then you press enter. Now look at what it says. It says ed is now at B021FO. Okay, so now if you do your git log hyphen one line, okay, now look at that. All the previous commit IDs, right, have been discarded. So from here up, it's been discarded, right? So now our head is now at this point. So basically means we have more like, you can say you have rewritten history, because I mean, the history we have now is that this is where we are, right? So all the things that we've done before this one, is actually gone. So now if I do git status, of course, nothing is there, right? But if I come to my files, okay, and I do cat file1.txt, now you can see that that line 5 that we added is actually gone, okay? Because at this level, we've not added the line 5. So you can see that it's gone. Now, the add reset that we did is something that, one should take caution, all right, when you are doing your add reset, because I mean, it can cause a lot of confusion, right? But actually, the fact that you are not seeing all those previous commit ID does not mean it's gone, right? You can actually use another Git command called git reflog, okay, to basically just see, all the other IDs, right? So this is where we are at the moment, okay, but then these are some of the other commit IDs, all right? So this is the commit ID, all right, for when we edited our file 1.txt, right? But the funny thing is, even though this is what we're seeing when we check our log now, do you know that we can actually revert back, all right, even to this point? Yes, we can actually do that, right? So what do? You can actually just copy this line, copy like this, and then you can use the same git reset, all right, add. Okay, so let's see what I would do. All right, so put it here and then press enter. Now look at what it says. It says edge is now at this place and this place. So which means even though you are moving between the edges, it doesn't mean that the history is deleted actually. No, it is just kept hidden somewhere, which means you can still revert back, all right, to that. So now if I do git log, all right, one line, okay, I can see now that it says what? I am now at this particular location. So now if I do cat file1.txt, now my line 5 is back. Okay, so even though I'm moving from one edge to the other, it doesn't mean that it's going to discard all of those IDs, right? It just basically will not be visible. Okay, that's what it is. But now you can see that even my file has been restored back. So the thing that I added in that file is now back inside of it. So that is how you can actually, correct anything that you've done, okay, with, even if you've committed a change, you can revert back to, all right, a particular, point in the head and just revert back to that point, make your corrections again, and then push to your remote repository. All right. So with this that we have seen, all right, I believe, that, at least now we can use Git to a certain level. Like I said, the three main commands that we're going to be using almost every day is the git add, the git commit, and the git push. All right, and then once in a while you can also do your merge request here and there. All right, but the three, all right, major ones that we're going to be using every time is add, commit, and push. And then once in a while also we can also do git pull, right? So you can say git pull. Basically, you want to pull from a remote repository, all right, and then you can also have git clone. All right, so git clone is you want to clone a repo, right? Basically, you want to download another repo on your local machine. That is what git clone is. And so here you can put the URL. So the URL is this. You can put the URL and then say github, all right, .com, okay, github.com slash with the name of the repo, for example. So the name of the repo can be something like this, and then it can be, let's say, git class, all right, .git. So this is actually what it looks like. Now with the git clone command, you can actually also specify the branch that you want to clone specifically, right? Because in some cases you have a repository that has multiple branches, right? 2 branches, 3 branches. So with that, you can actually specify -b and then specify the name of the branch. So let's say the name of the branch is Jenkins, for example. So I can put it like this. So basically what I'm saying is that I'm cloning this repo, but the branch that I'm cloning is actually what? The Jenkins branch. So every file and folder in the Jenkins branch is what will be downloaded on your system, not, all right, files and folders in other branches. Okay? But now, if you just leave it like this and say git clone this, it's just going to clone, all right, the main branch, the default branch actually. That's what it's going to clone. All right, it's going to clone just the default branch. But if you put it B, all right, like this, and then specify the name of the branch you want to clone, then that will clone, all right, that particular branch on your local machine. So git clone is more like downloading something, all right, on your local system. Okay. So now with all of these, I believe now that at least you're confident enough, you can use your Git. If you have not started using it, you can practice all of these things. Right now, as we go on in the course of the class, we're going to be doing a lot of commit, a lot of push, and all of that. Of course, Git is part of what we're going to be using regularly, because all the template files, all the scripts that we're going to be using, the code that we're going to be using to build architectures and all of that, we're going to be committing it into the Git repositories, all right, as we're working on those things. So it's something that we're going to be using a lot as we go, all right, together on this journey. So thank you so much. All right, so if you have any question, please drop it in the comment section and I'll do my best to answer your questions. All right, thank you so much. And if you're yet to subscribe, I really encourage that you do that. All right, subscribe to this channel, all right, like the videos, and then share it to as many people that you believe would benefit, all right, from this.